tell us first of all, what does this redistricting look like? And then how the Republicans are trying to kind of push back against it.
Absolutely. So Virginia is trying to combat what the Republicans are doing at Trump's orders, and I think that's important for the whole story of this thing. Like they weren't doing
Mhm.
this before Trump said so. And Virginia is pushing back on that blatant power grab by saying, okay, we have 6 Democrats, 5 Republicans now. Let's redraw the maps. So it would make 10 Democrats, 1 Republican. So a pickup of 4 seats. The measure that they're trying to do is temporary. It's through the Constitution, but it's written in a temporary means. And it's not just, hey, we're waving a magic wand. Sorry, if you're a Republican, we're not going to give you a vote or a choice on the matter. They've done it the right way. They said, look, we're going to put this to a vote. If the people agree to it, then that's what we're going to stick with it. These maps will stop existing at 2030 for the next 10 years, for the decade, for the regularly scheduled gerrymandering.
Districting, right.
Yeah, and
It's
there's
terrible, right?
yeah, I mean, and that's part of the U.S. Constitution. So there's
Yeah.
some Republican talking points that say, oh, well, Virginia's Constitution makes it permanent. It doesn't. That's just what they always do. Look over here, don't look over here.
Hmm.
But the U.S. Constitution supersedes the Virginia Constitution. So even if it was true, it wouldn't matter. I digress from that. This is a weird election. We don't usually have elections of any kind in April in Virginia. This is something that we're trying to step up, make sure that Trump doesn't have complete unchecked power, because that's the strategy. That's the grand strategy that they have. And we
Hmm.
got to do our part. And the lines that were drawn are upsetting a lot of Republicans, a lot of people in rural areas. And I can kind of hear where they're coming from. I get that. It doesn't feel great to be gerrymandered out of your district. There's
Right.
2 things that I think people should take. It's number one, you know, to act like this is existing in a vacuum is disingenuous. Like unless you have an official statement by the Republican National Committee or the Virginia Republican Committee that says, "Hey, it shouldn't be done in Texas," you have no ground to stand on. The true measure of conviction is whether or not you care about something, regardless if it happens to you. But they didn't give a shit when it happened in other states. They only started caring it when it impacted them. So they can touch grass with all of that. The second side of it is, though, if you are on the level of like the maps that are changing, I can understand as a Virginian why you wouldn't like them. But as an American, I think that this is wholly necessary. This is vital. This is crucial because it sends a message that we still have a democracy. And when someone tries to mess with it, there has to be consequences. When someone tries to mess with congressional districts for the sole purpose of consolidating more power, there has to be a response. If there's not a response, then there's nothing stopping them from the power grab growing and growing and doing whatever they want. We aren't
Hmm.
supposed to have kings in this country. I'm in Virginia. The last battle of the Revolutionary War took place in my state. This is our way of doing that again. So even though these districts, by the way, I hope your fans like me and are rooting for me for my congressional bid. They make it harder for grassroots candidates like me to win. But this is bigger than me. This is bigger than any one candidate. I wholly support it. I am campaigning on it. It is the beginning of my stump speech now, because if there's anything I can do to rein in Donald Trump's blatant power grabs and lack of accountability, because his own party won't do it. And if they did, by the way, this thing wouldn't be necessary, then I wouldn't necessarily, I'd have different thoughts. But at the end of the day, somebody has to
Democracy's
stand
at
up to this
stake.
bully. Democracy's at stake.
Yeah.
And we, the people, have to fight for it. So I'm glad that this referendum is up to the people.